This is Chi. Chi. This is Lucy. Lucy.
Lucy.
And a rainbow.
Do you know she's 10 now, sir?
She's old. Okay, Avatar of Decent Humor, commence whining.
So, new Transformers film. Oh my fucking god, this film was bollocks! I would have walked out and went home if I hadn't been there with them.
Stuck between us, as she always is.
In the middle with you.
But she was really, really feeling sorry for me because she sat on my ice cream.
You put it in a weird place.
I didn't, I had it on my train. You're like, it doesn't matter.
Really? You're gonna hold that against me?
Yeah. But yeah, we saw Transformers Age of Extinction, and quick review, it's a Michael Bay Transformers film. I can make a whole list of complaints and stuff, but it's a Michael Bay Transformers film, you know what you're getting into.
Optimus turned into a fucking psychopath in this film.
He did that in the previous ones already. The Bayformers, Optimus Prime has always been violent.
Yeah, but I didn't see the third one. But no, the fact that he is quite literally jumping around the place shouting, "I'll kill you."
He chopped his people's heads off and stuff, and
Yeah.
he was like, screaming about killing and all. It's nothing new for him.
Yeah. He kind of went foaming at the mouth rabid.
Okay. We've never done a Transformers vlog, so we'll just throw this out there. Massive Gen 1 fan. I can tolerate some of the other ones. Hate Beast Wars. Can tolerate Robots in Disguise. Thought Transformers Animated was amusing. Prime is distracting because you got Peter Cullen there, that's great, but then you got Frank Welker as Megatron, but he's not doing the Megatron voice, so it's just confusing. But it just had Jeffrey Combs, which is good. Hated the Minicon shit. So, big Gen fan. I even like Beast Machines, but it was just because it was weird as fuck and made no fucking sense. But
Right up your street then.
yeah, the Transformers became like bioorganic and they all transformed in the same sort of way as the human-made ones in this. It made no fucking sense. There was a plant transformer, and there was like Transformer God, and the idea was Optimus Primal became Moses. It made no fucking sense. But Teddy, what did you think?
I think the movie killed him.
Well, that's going to be a definitely interesting thing for the vlog. Okay, first up. Most of these complaints are going to be things you're going to hear in other vlogs, reading other things, whatever.
Michael Bay doesn't know about physics.
Why the fuck are there so many humans in this? Transformers is meant to be a war story. Why do they give a shit about the civilians who somehow get involved? This is like doing a film about the Normandy landings and spending the entire fucking time concentrating on someone who lives nearby and is getting bothered by the noise of shells.
I think that is a film.
It could be, but Transformers isn't supposed to be like that. Why are they concentrating on the people who are getting involved? Just
Yeah, there were several points in the film where it would have been interesting to see what the Autobots were doing. But instead they cut to the humans, and then the next time we go back to the Autobots, they're past the potential exciting bit. At one stage they are breaking into a fucking spaceship. And, what is it, Crosshair, and what do you call the other fucking guy?
You Ken Watanabe one?
Yeah.
It's Adrift.
They disappear. They just fucking disappear, and we focus on the humans until everybody meets up with Optimus Prime. And then they suddenly re-fucking-appear. Just to disappear again after delivering one fucking line. And it is implied that they had to fight their way there.
And you have 4 fucking Autobots plus Optimus Prime. Okay, we see Ratchet get killed, we saw footage of Leadfoot getting killed. But Transformers, same problem with all of them. You're supposed to have a long cast of Transformers who are involved in it, and then some die. It's a war story, you shouldn't do that. And in this one you got 5 soldiers, so obviously none of them fucking die. And then they get the Dinobots who are sort of in name only later on. Oh god.
Yeah. Optimus Prime approves of slave soldiers. You will fight for my cause or I will kill you. That is a direct quote from Optimus Prime. And he says this with his sword at the throat of the Dinobot.
I don't think Michael Bay quite understands that Optimus Prime, at least Gen 1 Optimus Prime, was essentially, for the generation who watched that as a kid, he was like cross between Merlin and King Arthur.
Yeah.
He was the personification of noble, good, heroic, and enslaving possibly subnormal
That
dinosaurs.
film was shit.
Oh, he caught up!
Jesus Christ.
Me and Teddy here, we actually stayed in the cinema after everyone else ran the fuck out of there to try and see who was responsible, who wrote it.
Didn't see a name on a writer on it.
I thought,
We
I
couldn't-
thought Ekran Kruger wrote it.
We
I didn't
see
see
him
his
credited.
name.
However, we saw how many special effects advisors and technicians?
50, 60 maybe.
Yeah.
Well, things confusing from the end credits. Fan Bingbing, her name has changed from Days of Future Past to this. Now it's Bingbing Lee. Because I'm pretty sure the Chinese one in this is Blink. So I'm like,
I think it's because she was hired through a Hollywood talent agent in this one, whereas in Days of Future Past she was hired through either a Chinese or Japanese talent agency.
It could also be she's having fun, and every film she's in, she's going to give a different name.
a different name, which sounds ridiculous to in our language.
You never know, it could be a fun job
A
thing for
little
her.
bit trolly. Fair enough.
Uh,
She's awesome in everything she does. It was nice to spot some Chinese people in this because I like in one character I'm fairly sure it was the coach from Shaolin Soccer, because you know it was interesting seeing some people who I'd recognized from from Chinese films turn up, which was nice. Okay. Hound is meant to be a reluctant warrior who is like not an actual pacifist but wants to be. And this one they turned him into Ironhide but more cartoony.
They turned him into a Transformer redneck.
Yeah.
Get the gun!
Who was able to kill dozens and dozens of the supposed more powerful than the original Autobot clones?
These films have a history of having the Decepticons be nondescript.
Don't throw the mouse at the cats!
These films have a history of making the Decepticons nondescript as hell. In this one, it was like they deliberately made them even more nondescript by having Galvatron, Stinger, and then a bunch of clones. And then they have the temerity to have a triple changer that goes from car to helicopter to robot, and not call him Springer. You know, and they make him blue instead of green. Come on, guys. I know, Ken Watanabe's great, but should have made him Springer and have him say, I got better things to do tonight than die and shit like that.
Well, I mean, Stinger, for example, was pink. But then they call it RC.
RC was in the second when I got
It
killed.
wasn't pink, it was red.
It was pink.
It was pink.
There was at least pink in the original
In
scene that it came into from.
In Revenge of the Fallen, RC, Chromia, and I think Alita 1 were supposed to be the RC trio, where they were not sure if they were 3 or 1 or whatever, but they all died.
Was that the racist ass motherfuckers?
No, that was Skids and Mudflap.
Yeah, fuck them. Oh dear.
So, I mean, I particularly loved the incompetent inventor, scientist fellow who's
Jesus
completely
Christ.
useless and yet somehow manages to take out, in single combat, a Black Ops CIA agent.
I loved how they go. You have all
Yeah.
these Americans going to an impoverished part of a big Chinese city, destroying everything, then running into people's homes, having fights and destroying people's homes. And it's like,
There's no political fallout for this. Of course not. Americans seemingly own the fucking world. Also, why did the CIA have so many assets in Hong Kong?
Well, they're the CIA. They don't tend to tell people until they need them. So for all we know, they have tons of assets in this room.
they're over there having a fight with each other.
that's Lucy and Chi. Those are our cats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what they want us to think.
That was my point.
Thanks, I've now got a handprint on my glasses.
Well,
Thank
if
you.
only you'd done that 3 hours ago, I wouldn't have had to see the film.
But yeah, one of the things that really annoyed the fuck out of me is we spent near enough the first half hour to 45 minutes establishing the fact that the inventor and his daughter were broke.
And then you got the dad who was supposed to be endeared by, assaults people doing their jobs.
Yeah, no, that was his landlady. He assaulted his landlady.
No, that was a realtor. That
No.
was someone from the bank attempting to sell his house before they foreclosed on it.
No.
Still someone doing their job.
You're 6 months behind. The bank doesn't do that. They were renters, and
America
that was
does.
his landlord. No, they just come in the middle of the night and they take the house. They don't give
Also,
you notice.
is really bad casting when the established 20-year-old boyfriend looks older than the father.
Hey, but he had stubble. That meant he was old.
Also, Lucky Charms, really.
And you've got Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg complaining about the Irish guy's, Irish guy being, not Texan. Mark Wahlberg and his daughter, Mark Wahlberg, okay, for not being Texan. Well, Mark Wahlberg, he's from fucking New England. His daughter's from LA. Everyone, their best friend is from somewhere else in America. And no one in Texas sounds like they're from Texas, except for the couple of people playing stereotypes who turn up and then get, shit happen to them. And then they go. Like, you don't sound Texan. Neither do you, Mark Wahlberg. Why do you have a Texan flag? Shut the fuck up.
Also, pick an accent and fucking stick with it. Throughout the course of the film, he went from very Irish to Dublin Irish. He was Scottish at one stage. He went American, and then he went Australian at one point when he was shrieking. Like, pick a fucking accent.
We'll be interested to find out where that guy is actually from. Although, in my head canon right now, I'm thinking this is a prequel to, or possibly a sequel to Death Games, the Irish Mad Max, featuring the guy, he's called Killer, and that's him, I'm thinking. There's the same character, even though it's totally not the same actor.
Also, they did the exact same thing that they did wrong in the last, all of them, was that they let the squishy human take care of the important artifact. Why? Why did Optimus Prime not just take the goddamn seed and get out of the city? Or even better, hand it to the fucking two-headed pterodactyl. He could fly it out of there quicker than they could drive.
Yeah, so could someone confirm for me when Optimus Prime got jet legs?
That too. Why
Yeah, Optimus
he
Prime
suddenly
couldn't.
fly?
Yeah, he couldn't fly, and then he suddenly
And
could.
then magically at the end of the film, well, it would have been bloody helpful earlier
He got to
on.
fly into space.
Yeah, he just suddenly had jet legs and could fly from safety after dropping a grenade, which potentially could have killed hundreds of innocent people.
Yeah, also, whenever he dropped the grenade, he got the humans to stand behind the shield to stop this. The thing is, he's holding the shield like this, the humans are crouched down, the grenade detonates fucking behind them! So the shield would have done fuck all! All he essentially did was create a blast zone where they would be in higher effect.
There is a slight... Okay, I'm going to be nice about one thing. The
Really?
human characters in this were an improvement on the human characters in the previous ones.
Well, that is hardly a compliment.
It's a vague compliment.
That's not a compliment, it's a fact of life.
They were less
They could
irritating
have,
than
they
Shia
could have
LaBeouf.
replaced them.
Stunner LaBeouf?
They could
Yes.
have replaced them with two of the most irritating
Although-
people ever, and it would have been an improvement.
They did try to channel a little bit of style out with that, what do you call it? Was it the chief of staff guy?
Mm.
Also, nobody like that would get a job at the White House.
And not
Nobody.
to mention the chief of staff.
And based on what's happening behind this, what's been happening in the Transformers world between the last one and this one, I'm thinking Shia LaBeouf and his parents were shot and buried in a ditch somewhere. Which is a happy ending for everyone, really.
That's only as long as he's with them.
Well, yeah, I think they were all shot dead and put into a ditch.
Okay.
That's
Or
why they have them
Bumblebee
there.
got pissed off and crushed them.
No, I think Kelsey Grammer killed them. Kelsey Grammer probably dragged them into the office, and then he made the after one conversation had them all shot in the head.
We also have the transitions. Michael Bay has to learn that there is actually a route that needs to be taken to get to these locations. For example, they started chasing, they're on a farm. It cuts to Optimus Prime, who was with them, is suddenly on an overpass highway that will be nowhere near a rural area. Cuts back to humans in their alley car going through a small town. Cuts back to Optimus, again, on the fucking overpasses and highways. Then they're in a fucking city. It's like, what? Then also, have you noticed how the time of day shifted from them standing on the dock and Optimus going up in the air to suddenly 5 hours later at sunset?
Yeah, that
And
happened
Optimus is
several
still
times.
going up.
That happened several times.
It was going very slowly
Well, yeah, escape velocity on a
on
that.
a truck.
I particularly love Optimus Prime completely disheveled and destroyed.
How did
They
he get
started building,
regenerated?
and then suddenly, oh, I'm just going to scan another truck, and then I'm perfectly fine.
I'm cured completely.
No bother.
It was like, only my people can cure me, and then but I gotta look all shiny and perfect before I meet my people who can cure me.
Yeah.
And the very start of Optimus Prime is being a flat-nosed truck. I think it's called a flat-nose. The type he was in Gen 1. And it's like, yay, finally, we're gonna get proper Optimus Prime Ultimate. And then suddenly, oh, I scan the other one, I turn into the... You fucking teased, Michael Bay. I want a fucking proper Optimus Prime.
And then, I mean, he also got the crap beaten out of him before he got taken by the aliens. And then magically, after onwards, he's okay.
And then he gets a sword through the chest, and he's fine. He's able to get it pulled out, and then
Fly off into space.
and he's perfectly fine. Then he stabs Lockdown in the back, and then talks about honor. You know, after stabbing a guy in the back, you know, the same guy stabbed you in the front, and then Lockdown gets killed by that, and then he pulls the thing out of his head. So you overkill, and then Optimus Prime's fine. Apparently, he feeds on death.
I've worked it out, guys. I've worked out why I hated the end of this film so much. It was the Matrix. You have the main character flying up into the camera, into space, with a monologue to this unknown third-party enemy, and just flying and talking to them, and then black. It was the fucking Matrix ending,
So it was.
which was shit.
Well, yeah, but unlike the Matrix, we have Galvatron somehow managed to sneak out of the city without anybody noticing, going, I'll be back.
Does that mean
I'll get you next time, Gadget. I mean, Optimus.
Does that mean we're gonna have 2 more crappy sequels that are even worse than
They're
this?
planning 2 more.
Also,
Jesus.
where was the Chinese military that they mobilized?
Hey, the jets appeared.
One jet.
No, multiple jets came in as Optimus was giving his speech, and absolutely no one was
One
worrying
jet.
about them.
That was one
No,
goddamn jet.
there were tons of
and
jets.
nobody seemed to be
There
doing
were
anything.
tons of jets. I'm really concerned that the soldiers who
Fucking
just
one.
watched Hong Kong get completely destroyed by giant robots,
Well, technically they were
happily
policemen.
standing there and looking at the giant robots chatting away, and then one jet up into the sky.
Yeah, that was fucking ridiculous.
Also, yeah, brilliant coordinator let the random businesswoman through.
And how they managed to open the gate for Bumblebee.
Yeah.
And if they must create, you know, other semi-sentient sort of replica ones to be beside Galvatron, why not call them Scourge and Cyclonus? Why not just that, when you rather than have like Stingers, like at least use another fucking name connected to Galvatron.
Then everyone complained there'd be absolutely nothing like Scourge and Cyclonus. And this one I'm going to defend them on. If you do random names somewhere, people are going to complain that they weren't like them in the other way. You can never please fans. But Michael Bay, it was still shit.
He doesn't try to please fans.
Exactly. But it was still crap.
The
If he tried to please fans, it would be crap too. But he fucked it up in a completely different way. I suppose power to you.
And okay, we discovered that the Transformers are created by an organic third party called the Creators, and
Well,
okay,
they never stated they were organic.
well, we saw the hand of one controlling, firing stuff at the dinosaurs.
True, but it
So
had...
it had a bunch of like different fingers, but it was
Yeah.
organic.
no, not fingers,
so-
it had wires and all too.
So either we're dealing with quintessons who were bio-organic, or we're dealing with a completely new sort of thing that Michael Bay has invented for their origin. It's like, trust Michael Bay to either do the shit already existing origin or invent a new one when the perfectly awesome one involving Primus already exists. Good work.
Also, the metal frozen dinosaurs served absolutely no purpose in this film whatsoever, apart from giving that woman a role.
I mean, you would have thought they were going to turn those metal frozen dinosaurs into the Dinobots.
That's what I thought too when I saw them.
That's what you
That's
would
what
have
I
thought, but it's like, no. They just had Lockdown just happened to have these Transformers who turn into into dinosaurs, and they're never named on screen, and they never say anything, even though that they really should have been a conversation of some sort between Optimus Prime and Grimlock.
Yeah, except for the legend exists.
I don't even know what the fuck legend. What are they talking about? Knights? What the
He
fuck?
pulled up a sword from
Also,
a stone.
what the fuck was the knight thing about?
I don't know.
Suddenly Optimus Prime is a knight.
I think they're suggesting Optimus Prime was some built leader malarkey who was to keep people in line, and then he went all rogue and decided, I want to help people, and his creators are all like,
Oh god, it's the Brotherhood of Steel.
It was nice to see Mark Ryan getting an actual job in a Transformers film for once. Mark Ryan played Lockdown. In all of the Transformers films, he has basically done. I think he's done mocap and he's done stand-in stuff. Delivering lines on camera. In replacement of Transformers during filming. His most famous role, apart from this, was he had one line as Bumblebee at the end of Transformers 1 when he got his voice box back before it broke again for 2 for some reason. But he was one of the main cast in Robin Hood, the Robin Hood TV show on the British TV in the 80s. Apart from that, this is all he's done, and then suddenly it's Michael Bay's like, okay, Mark, you've hung around my set doing occasional lines that never make it on screen for 3 films. You can voice the baddie, and he's like, yay! I have a career again. My previous claim to fame was I played the Arab in the 80s TV Robin Hood, which they based Azim on in the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, but they thought, whenever they created Prince of Thieves, that Nasir was an actual part of the legend, and they didn't realise it was created for the TV show, so at the last minute they had to change the name in order to not pay royalties to the British TV show.
Jesus Christ, woman, do you take a breath?
But that's all actually true. That's the only reason there was an Arab character in Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. They misunderstood the British TV show that was popular at the time, and they thought it was part of the legend. They didn't do any research. Last minute, they changed his name from Nasir to Azim to avoid a lawsuit.
Achoo?
So yeah, the inspiration for Morgan Freeman in that is Lockdown.
Something else at the very beginning of the film. You remember that massive battle at the start of the end of the previous film that lasted an hour? Where they destroyed skyscrapers and wiped out buildings and things were blowing up left, right, and center.
That's when Clark Kent went, holy shit! This is giving me ideas for the next time I want to destroy a city.
Exactly. Apparently, with only 1,300 people died.
Bullshit.
I mean, 1,300 people. I mean, a normal skyscraper will have more people in it than that.
You could do the same sort of
I
level.
mean, seriously.
You could do the same level of destruction on a small English village and kill more people.
Yeah. I mean, come on, guys. Oh, Lord.
Last night I watched a documentary. It was done on the net. It was about this film guy deconstructing Michael Bay and how he shoots films. And it was all about every single thing he tries to make everything awesome and epic by use of moving camera, and you've got like stuff in the foreground, stuff in the background just to create scale, and he uses particular lenses to make things look more impressive and big. Mm-hmm. And what he wants to do is make every edit and every shot as awesome as possible. And with that in mind, I watched this and I'm like, holy shit, you're right. And it's even more distracting when you know this. When you can read Michael Bay's shots, it becomes even more distracting and annoying.
There is actually one thing. You see the Dinobots when they're in their robot form? I actually think they looked better that way because they looked like proper armoured robots. They had full chest plates and ridges to protect their vital parts. They looked like guys in armour, and it looked proper instead of the Autobots that just have these open spaces into their organs
or whatever.
Yeah, that's the only thing I really liked about that. That and the line of when they're transforming, your boy Crosshair going, I thought they'd turn into giant cars, is the only funny bit in that film.
That was Drift who said that.
Fuck you, I don't care. Also, so Green One's Crosshair.
Yes.
Why did he have a trench coat?
He was also like an Autobot version of Starscream. He was constantly trying to betray people and running away cowardly, but at the same time being like, crazy brave. It was like the character had dissociative personality disorder.
Yeah, At some stage he's like, yeah, I can do this on my own. I should be in charge. And all right, let's totally do this as a team. It's like, shut the fuck up.
And then, oh no, we're all gonna die, I'm gonna run away. And then Hound has to stick a gun in his head to make him stay there. It makes no fucking sense.
And then he turns out to be fucking badass piloting the ship.
And then he leaps off it using parachutes and kills half a dozen things.
While shouting yeehaw.
It wasn't okay. When it comes to Dinobot stuff, I'm one of the ones who likes the Dinobots, but I'm not a Grimlock fan. My preference is Slag, who is the Triceratops, who they renamed Slug in this because apparently the word slag is hilarious over in the UK. It's like, I don't give a fuck. He's fucking Slag. And it was nice to see him kill a couple of things, because Slag forever. He's the only one who got a hit on Devastator in the 1985 movie. Or 1986, sorry.
Yeah, but then his eyes jumped out of his
No,
head.
that was Sludge. That was the Brontosaurus.
Oh, okay.
And this one, they called them like Spike and Slug, and it's like, you fucking renamed them and you turned Swoop into a two-headed dragon thing. When Galvatron from Robots in Disguise turned into a fucking multi-headed dragon. Did you have to be boring and turn Galvatron into a flat-nosed truck, a la proper Optimus Prime, just to mock me, and instead of having him turn into a multi-headed dragon? The point of this new remade Galvatron human thing is that he can turn into anything. Have him turn into a fucking dragon! At least.
Do you remember when they were trying to build the new prototype and it says like it's supposed to look like Optimus Prime? Do you think it should have been a hint that it might not be working if it looks like fucking Megatron?
I think that's why he was complaining.
Exactly, that's why he's complaining, but does he not think there's a reason it looks like fucking Megatron?
He's probably assuming his people are incompetent. I mean, really, when you're a boss, everyone's incompetent except you.
Also, through this film, we have learned that bronies is a gateway to gun violence.
Very true. Take note.
And for some reason, there was also a Transformer who was turned into an Oreo machine for some reason. But,
Product placement. Fantastic. I mean...
Product placement? I don't know what you mean!
I'm gonna give Michael Bay a tiny bit of damning with faint praise. It took him 3 films, but he finally worked out that Frank Welker should be fucking Megatron/Galvatron. Although, you know, it did raise a red flag for me whenever Frank Welker got the role of Galvatron, given his terrible Galvatron voice in Gen 1. But he did his voice of Megatron from Transformers Prime, and that just distracts me because... Okay. With Transformers Prime, it's nice that Peter Cullen and Frank Welker playing Megatron and Optimus Prime again, but then they let Frank Welker use a different Megatron voice, so it was like, what's the point? So now we've got him playing Galvatron as Megatron from Prime, which is like, that's not the actual Megatron voice, so what's the point? Was it so difficult to believe that Frank Welker is capable of the 1984 Megatron voice? There's nothing inappropriate about that voice for the character. It's
Michael Bay
perfect.
probably just doesn't like the voice.
He doesn't. In the original Transformers release on DVD, he does an interview bit where he's like saying about how that voice did not work for Megatron, and they show a clip from the fucking show from the 80s. Sorry, they have the voice of the Megatron from the 80s dubbed over the Megatron from the thing, to demonstrate his point. And I'm like, that's much fucking better! Fuck you, Hugo Weaving. But he's getting there, you know, give him about 70 or 80 films, he might actually be able to be competent at this. Tiny steps! As in casting the right guy after 4 films. Next step, make him do the right voice. Next step after that, fucking put a vocoder on their voices so they don't sound like humans. It was like, this is most obvious in Revenge of the Fallen when you have Soundwave. Soundwave, he sounds like Dr. Claw, because that's what Frank Welker's Soundwave voice sounds like before they did the electronic alteration. He cannot consider the idea that maybe the Transformers should sound like robots. Is that so difficult? It's something distracting about seeing a giant robot sound exactly like a human.
Yeah. Something that really annoyed me too, not so much annoyed, I got bored in this film. Not just because we kept talking about the stupid films, but the fact that everything was exploding, everything was rolling around. Apparently Bumblebee can only travel by somersault.
Not everything exploded.
Kelsey Grammer only sort of exploded.
Yeah, exactly.
It was nice.
Fire.
It was nice to see Optimus Prime using his cannon against a human for once, but I want to know why he only got superficial damage. He really should have been a smear.
Well, the effect made it look like it was a smear, but when he fell over, he was still technically in one part with some red sauce on him.
It was nice to see him getting some more work.
There was a point at the end where, what was the name of the bad guy?
Which one?
Kelsey
There were
Grammer.
like 5.
Now, was it Kelsey Grammer, was it Stanley Tucci, or was
The
it the guy
fucking
who was
bounty
like
hunter transformer.
Lockdown?
Yeah, him. It just shows how much I care. I don't even learn their names. There was a point where he's jumping out of his ship and he blows up a walkway and lands on it and rides it down to crash down on Optimus. Now, I remember sitting there thinking, that should be impressive visual effects. But I am so goddamn bored now. And I was like, no.
Your attitude was coloured by the rest of the film.
How many times did I look over you and go, for fuck's sake?
Because we can do anything with CGI now, I come to the conclusion that because we can do anything, we've seen so much stuff, it is so difficult to actually get an honest bit of awe reaction from us because we've seen so much. This is possibly why sequels and remakes and everything and readaptions are so popular, because what they need to do is that to get that sense of awe from us is to show us something that we already connect emotionally with, something from our childhood, something from the past, and they repackage it to try and create that. Because it's almost impossible to do it with something original because we've seen it all.
Yeah.
True.
Which is why I'm kind of giving the new Star Wars episode a bit of credit, because they're trying to do as many practical effects as possible and
Right.
use as little CG.
I'm not giving it any credit. Fuck J.J. Abrams in the ear.
I lack the necessary equipment.
It
Also, I think that might count as assault.
would take a very small penis as well.
These guys have no idea I was
What's
actually...
this joke?
These guys have no idea that I'm actually referencing medieval European beliefs about how the Virgin Mary was impregnated by God. This is why women would typically, in some periods of the medieval, would wear ear coverings, because a woman's ear was considered basically a sexual organ.
I suppose if you insert the penis while it's placid and then allow it to become erect.
This is true. This was a belief in some parts of Europe during some parts of the Middle Ages.
Was this around the time where men would openly wear tufts of their lover's pubic hair?
Possibly, I don't know.
Charming.
But yeah,
Supposedly it was a very touching gift.
I
They
want-
used to wear
so,
them openly on their
literally,
hats.
I want God to have sex with J.J. Abrams in the ear so he becomes pregnant with some sort of messiah figure who will,
Enjoy lens flare.
yeah, he will create a religion of the lens flare, and I can sit there and go, this is fucking ridiculous, fuck you, J.J. Abrams. I'm not going to forgive him for... I've only ever seen his Star Trek films, and he fucking killed that.
He did good films before and he did good TV shows before, although they lost steam very quickly.
J.J. Abrams, with Star Trek, rather than trying to actually keep it going, what he did was he took the equivalent of he did the equivalent of taking a pensioner and filling them with speed.
I've seen that,
Really?
and it is fucking hilarious.
So, you know, this pensioner is going fine for a little while, but it's just going to explode. He could have done something rejuvenation on or something, kept it going in some way, but no, he's just like, I'm going to take the old person and literally try to make it young again, and it's not going to work again. I hate that person. Okay, I don't actually know him, but I do not like his art that I've seen.
But back to the point.
It was a shit film.
Fuck this movie. I only decided to go in at the last minute because Colin looked sad. And I fucking regret
He
it.
was very sad because I was paying for his ticket.
No, he
What?
was sad because he'd have to pay for his own snacks.
Yeah.
Now you know how Robin feels whenever we go to the cinema. It's dragged around.
Yeah, but I would
You're
have-
stuck with this until Omega comes.
Oh, I would have had to go and get snacks. That's terrible.
See, thinking back, I probably would have chose to stay at home and played Fallout 3.
Hey, if I'd known the film was going to be that, I probably would have stayed at home.
You've seen the other Transformers. How did you not know what it was
Hey,
going to be?
this was on another level.
No,
Also, I
haven't seen the
remember,
third one.
I remember coming out of the third film and saying, "I'm not going to the next one," and yet here we are,
Well,
because it's a
This
Transformers
is not
film.
this is not another level. Revenge of the Fallen is still the worst.
It was just another Transformers.
It's a special
film.
level to it. That one, they didn't even have a finished script. There was a writer's strike. They ad-libbed it.
There are a collection of films you just gotta go and see when they come out. Now, this is an example, and it's like, how
I wanna pay
disappointing.
for that.
There was so much. There are worse films I've seen in the cinema, such as The Matrix Reloaded.
Googly-eyed disposal robots that scream and run away.
And The Matrix Reloaded.
You didn't see Pompeii, Con.
Oh,
I didn't
Jesus,
see
Pompeii!
So as I said, there are worse films.
You didn't see The Host.
I did not see The Host, no.
Oh, fuck me, I cannot take that film seriously.
You do not want to look through the list of things that me and Robin saw. We watched Magic Mike for some reason.
Oh, sorry, Pompeii.
So yeah, to wrap up,
The film fucking sucked.
it was a bad film. If you liked the previous Transformers films,
Fuck you.
you'll probably like this. For some reason. If you didn't like the previous Transformers films but are going to go anyway, you're going to be just as disappointed as you imagine. If you haven't watched the previous Transformers films, why not? What's the worst that can happen?
They'll lose some small bit of sanity. Also,
It's not
in
as
this
bad.
film, they beat you over the head with the product placement.
They did in all of them.
No, it's worse than this one. They actually spend nearly 5-6 seconds intently focused on a bottle of Bud Light, which has no reason to be there.
This isn't as bad as Revenge of the Fallen. And amusingly, it seems to be Michael Bay's political film because it seems to be anti-military industrial complex, saying that privatizing defense and stuff is a terrible idea, which is hilarious because the government are sort of like, they're nice and affable, but they're being misled by these evil Kelsey Grammer and evil at the start Stanley Tucci. But
There was nothing private about it. It was the CIA and a company who has a military contract.
yeah, that's the thing. That's what it is. It's privatizing. It's paying a company to do defense.
No, they weren't being paid to do defense. They were being paid to develop weapons.
Yes, it's still privatization of military stuff. The proper military wouldn't have. It's as though Michael Bay's trying to make some sort of a point about that, and that's amusing.
Michael Bay isn't very good at points.
Well, we know that.
It's,
Michael Bay's not good at a lot of things.
It's, look, some tits. Look, explosions. Look, racist thing.
That Michael Bay is not good at a lot of things, and I don't think his point was good, but it looked like he was trying to make some sort of a point.
Well, at least he got his quota of racism shoved into this one.
This one had much less racism than usual.
True,
Just like
but
confusing.
you had that fucking samurai talking in haikus,
I would also...
and then you had every Chinaman who knew fucking kung fu for some reason.
And internet, I would just like to highlight, this film is a perfect example of why we can't have nice things. This film, which is very much pushing towards being the best-selling film of the year, when we had something good and original a few months ago, Edge of Tomorrow, which got
It wasn't original, it's an adaptation.
yeah, but original side in terms of an adaptation.
It's not a sequel.
It's not a sequel. It was a bit of thought going into it, a bit of thinking, and what happens in the States? It did fuck all. It made its money back quite well internationally, but in the States, nothing.
That's because its advertising was bad and the trusted name was bad and nondescript. It's a bit like the problems with John Carter.
This is why you can't have good things. Because people go to watch this shite and don't watch their stuff.
Why did you signal me whenever you...
I think he's
I was
just randomly gesturing.
pointed.
People go to see
Just
this
right.
shit rather than...
I would also highlight Judge Dredd's another example. Also, I only direct at you, Zara, because you're watching shite all the time and you almost enjoy it.
No, statistically, the most likely films they are for me to go to see are
Are
superhero or horror.
Or shite.
Horror films don't tend to do very well.
You make a career out of shite films.
I will say this though. A lot of English, Scottish and Irish actors are making decent names for themselves and getting more into Hollywood action. Mostly thanks to Game of Thrones.
Not entirely.
Not entirely, but it did
there's
help.
a number of shows. Downton Abbey
Yes.
has been very popular in the States,
Sherlock.
as has Sherlock and Doctor Who. So there's a number of shows that have been very popular.
So
around
it's just
as
nice to see more of an international cast
well. It's not
and
really.
less shut up and less fuck yeah America, because that really pisses everybody off eventually. I think you can agree.
No, it's just showing how the American filmmaking is becoming more international deliberately. That's why they were doing it in China.
Yeah,
For
because they
flight
realised there's
financing.
actually a decent market for people if they
There were extra scenes filmed for Iron Man 3 that were set in China for the same reason, but they were not actually included in the main part in the main film. They were filmed separately and they were inserted into it for the Chinese releases.
They did
yeah,
the
because there's a
same for
little
Pacific
Chinese
Rim.
guy helping them
Oh,
out.
they did.
It's awesome.
Pacific Rim, they did the same.
Anyway, it's not good, but it's Bayformers. I think if you edit together all of the Transformers that are fighting and just standing around footage and you redub it and you do some really clever scripting, you can probably come up with a semi-decent 25-minute episode of Generation 1. If you just take the actual fighting and standing around and transforming and you do very clever editing and you rewrite it.
They spent too much time establishing the inventor's family having nothing at all than they did establishing the major plot point of the goddamn film, which was the seed. Also, Megatron standing in the street shouting, "Bring me, I must find my seed!" is very disturbing.
It's like it's full of seizing and salami!
What?
It's a line from Transformers the movie from the 80s.
Okay.
I was impersonating Slag, my favourite Dinobot.
Okay, that's fine.
They had Grimlock in here and they didn't even have Greg Berger. I mean, yeah, the guy was in like Police Academy 7, but come on, he's Grimlock. They should have had at least Grimlock having a line.
Grimlock was grating on the ear.
That's part of his point.
He's an asshole.
That's again part of his point.
So, to sum up, this film... I want my tenner back.
You spent a tenner on the ticket?
No, on food for him and me.
What did he pay for?
The ticket.
Tickets.
I paid for his ticket,
No, you didn't.
didn't I?
No.
Oh, good. I'm not going to pay them.